where there's no place for judgment, um, to feel and speak as freely as you want, and to just share and express your thoughts, even if it's just random or doesn't make sense. This is a space for all of us. Um, and yeah, Network of Empathy has the mission of enhancing and improving emotional intelligence, and building connections between people. And today we're co-hosting this wonderful circle with the wonderful Eco Anxiety Project. And as well, we have two great storytellers, Angelo Zilo and Hilary Isaac. And yeah, they're gonna each introduce themselves later on. But we're gonna first begin with a little bit of grounding led by Rima to really put us in presence in this space. So over to you, Rima. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will turn on a little bit of a calming meditation music on the background to guide us while I'm guiding us through a...
Rima, I don't know if you're on mute, but or is it me that
Oh, can you hear me still?
Yeah,
You
sorry,
can't hear me.
that was a problem.
Okay, no worries, no worries. I am going to just guide everybody through an alternative to a metta meditation, a loving kindness meditation. I chose this meditation today because I think oftentimes, since the subject of today is eco-anxiety along with climate empathy, oftentimes our anxiety comes hand in hand with feelings of shame and self-doubt and self-deprecation, and I feel like it would be a good place to start to ground ourselves in the space of loving kindness towards ourselves, so that we can also provide that loving kindness in the space that we share together today. Let me just kickstart the music. And if you're more comfortable with it, you can turn off your camera for the time being, while we're doing this meditation process. I would like to invite you to get comfortable in your chairs, find a comfortable position and adjust your posture to allow yourself to sit in a way that feels both comfortable and grounded. Maybe even if you feel like it, letting your eyes close down, taking a moment or two to bring your awareness to your breath, and to gently extend your exhalations so that they're longer than your inhalations. And allow your awareness also to move close to the points of contact, where your body is making contact with the surface you're sitting, standing, or lying down on right now. And just feeling the movement of breath, feeling how much the body participates as it expands and contracts with the breast, entering and exiting the body, noticing how much the body as a whole participates in each breath. And if it feels comfortable, I invite you to place one or both of your hands on your heart. And feeling the warmth and presence of your hand or hands on your heart, feeling your heart receive the warmth and comfortable contact, pressure of your hand. Imagine perhaps, if you can, that your breath can enter and exit from the heart. And as you're drawing your awareness to this region of your heart, you just may notice the sense of presence or warmth in this region. First, I'd like you to bring a mind part of you that you like, that part of you that you respect, a part of you that you appreciate, into the forefront of your awareness. It could be a part of you that's the way your friend appreciates you, the way that you treat your coworkers, how you see the world, your sense of humor, the way you cook, the way you dance, the way you love, your appreciation for the music that you like listening to. Anything that comes to mind, bring it up to the forefront. See if you can allow yourself to bring up a quality or an aspect that you like, that you feel positive about. And hold it tenderly in your mind and heart. And as you're holding this part, of you that you feel positive about, try offering these silent phrases to that part of you. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free from suffering. May you be filled with well-being. May you be comfortable and at ease. May you come to experience your true essence as love. May you be happy and free from suffering. May you be filled with well-being. May you be comfortable and at ease. May you come to experience your true essence as love. Now, often there's more than one aspect of us that we appreciate. It could be another quality that comes to mind, and feel free to bring it up as well. What I'd also like you to do is to notice that a lot of times these tendencies that we that we like have a quality of relaxation to them, of the ventral system of ours to them. Again, if there's another aspect of you or just a general calming space in you that you can bring up to the forefront, offer these wishes to it. May you be happy, free from suffering. May you be filled with well-being. May you be comfortable and at ease. May you come to experience your true essence as love. And now bring to the mind an aspect of you that you're neutral about. You're not necessarily positive about it, but you're not really negative about it. Maybe it's the way you floss your teeth, or the way you walk, or the way you drive your car, pay your bills, or anything. Something that's a quality that we're aware of, but it's neither strongly positive or negative. And bringing that quality to the mind and heart, just the ordinary way that this part of us is in the world. But really allow yourself to breathe in this part and offer it some tenderness, offering it caring and compassion. May you be happy and free from suffering. May you be filled with well-being. May you be comfortable and at ease. May you come to experience your true essence as love. And now, lastly, let's bring to mind parts of us that we're not necessarily liking, maybe that we're ashamed of or shameful, parts that we disown. Maybe you had to disown your anger because it frightened you, or you had to disown the desire for closeness because it felt too vulnerable. And let the judgment be with you. Bring it to the forefront. This is part of our humanity, and this is part of our nervous system. And it doesn't change by us hating it. It doesn't change by us banishing it outside of us. It changes because we befriend it. So tenderly bringing something you judge, a part of you that you dislike or strongly dislike or hate, to the forefront of your mind and your heart. See if you can sincerely generate and offer these heart wishes. May you be happy and free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be comfortable and at ease. May you come to experience your true essence as love. And finally, bringing to mind and heart all aspects of the parts that you like, that you appreciate, that you value, the parts of you that you're neutral about or unknown to you, and the parts that you judge and push away. Can you breathe all of that simultaneously into your heart space, welcoming all the stories and all the states? Since there are no wrong states or stories, welcome them back into the space of your heart and mind. May you be happy and free from suffering. May you be filled with well-being. May you be comfortable and at ease. And may you come to experience your true essence as love. Letting yourself sit quietly for a few moments after completion, notice the sensations in your body. Come back into the room with us. Do you feel a bit more relaxed, more present, more centered? Ask yourself that question. And I would like to welcome you back into the session. I hope this little meditation exercise have helped us to get grounded in the space that we share together. since we've offered all of our parts, or at least some of our parts, loving kindness, I would like to offer this loving kindness back into the space that we're sharing, and thank our co-organizers and guest speakers, guest storytellers for joining us today in this beautiful session. And I would like to now give the floor to Ayo to introduce TEAP. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rima, for that calming session. I feel so much at peace. After meditation, I always want to go back to sleep, but I just have to focus right now. All right, so thank you for that, Rima, and thank you, Network of Empathy team. Thank you for everybody joining us, and thank you for everyone here today, and also thank you to our speakers for accepting to be part of this. My name is Ayomide Ulude, and I am the project manager for the Eco-Anxiety in Africa project. So what we do at TEAP is we are at the gap between the interrelation between climate change and mental health. So we realized that there is a lot going on with climate change, but we mostly focus on the physical aspect of climate change. But then there is also this part of climate change that affects us mentally and how we cope with our emotions. Seeing impacts of different impacts of climate change on the environment also affects our psychological well-being. And as TEAP, what TEAP project is all about is trying to understand that gap, trying to understand the African story behind eco-anxiety. Eco-anxiety has been something that has been touted by the Western world. Mostly, we don't really see it relating to Africans. So our mandate at TEAP is to bring back that emotion to our African roots and how we as Africans express these emotions and how we experience these emotions. So I will drop a link to our website if you'd like to read more in the chat box. Currently, we are also conducting a survey for Nigerians living in Nigeria. It's an eco-anxiety survey trying to gather research data on eco-anxiety or eco-emotions as it is for Nigerians living in Nigeria. I will also drop a link to that in the chat box. So while we go ahead with that, or while I go ahead with dropping that link on the chat box, apologies, I would like to introduce our speakers. So here with us today, we have two wonderful storytellers, because they're also storytellers and they're here to share their story with us. We have Angelo Ezilo and we also have Hilary Isaac. I'll go ahead to read their bios separately, and then we'll have Angelo come up first and share our story with us. And after that, we'll also have Hilary come up and do likewise. So I'll just go ahead to read Angelo's bio. Okay, so yeah, thank you. Angelo Ezilo is the Vice President of Empathy for Ashoka Africa. She is a social entrepreneur and environmental activist. She is also the founder of the international nonprofit Greening Youth Foundation that was created to engage underrepresented youth and young adults while connecting them to outdoors career in conservation. She's the author of the book Engage, Connect, Protect, Empowering Diverse Youth as Environmental Leaders. Thank you, Angelo, for joining us. You're welcome. We really appreciate having you here. I will go ahead to read Hilary's bio before you come up and then share your story. Okay. So Hilary Isaac loves to explore questions of power, politics, resources, and how they relate to the question of social justice and human flourishing. She also explores alternative models of human flourishing. She currently works as a biomedical engineer and oversees her knowledge as an educator and practitioner to improve healthcare infrastructure and disability rights all over the world. Thank you, Hilary, for joining us today. We are really excited to have you here and share your story. Yeah, so over to you, Angelo. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Io. I appreciate that. And I really have to thank Rima for that meditation. I meditate every morning. This morning, I did not needed to get my dog, well, long backstory, but it was so timely and I appreciate it. I just want to say that the work that Susty Vibes is doing, as well as Network of Empathy, is so important. So when I see Jennifer, the founder of Susty Vibes, like my little sister, so she's also an Ashoka fellow with me. So when she reached out, I was like, immediately I needed to do this because I'm a big fan of her work as well as Network of Empathy. So as Ayomide shared, I'm the founder of Green Youth Foundation, head of empathy at Ashoka Africa, but I'm an eco-empath, which I believe most of us are here today. But I'm also a storyteller, because that's really what we all do, right? We tell our stories of our lives and hope to impact somebody else. You know, that's what I think I've been put here to do. Don't have a whole lot of time this morning. When I saw how much time they were giving me, I was like, what? I can't get into anything with 10 minutes. So I'm just going to touch on a few things, and I'm looking forward to us getting into these group discussions and hearing my colleague here, Hilary. So just a little bit about who I am, my background. So I grew up in the States. I don't know how many of you are familiar with New Jersey, but my family were fortunate enough to have 54 acres of land in upstate New York. So I was able to go to this place, this magical place for me with my siblings. And, you know, it's not like we had a whole lot of money or any of that stuff, but for some reason, my family, my parents really valued the outdoors and land and the environment. So every summer we would go to this space, and I had such transformative experiences on this land. And, you know, I felt so free. I was 5 or 6 years old, but I really felt that that's where I can go and just be myself and connect with nature and all of, you know, God's creation there. However, despite this love for the environment and the outdoors that I had, as I was growing up, the idea of, you know, talking to me about careers in the environmental space, or, you know, becoming a conservationist or environmentalist, like that was never something that, you know, I was encouraged to do. And later I asked why. Like I went and became an attorney, and, you know, like, because that was the safe thing to do in the 70s or 80s. My parents, you know, wanted me to do that safe career, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I went on to become a lawyer. But I later asked them, like, why? Now, you saw I had gardens, I did all this stuff with my grandmother in the outdoors. And, you know, it was a whole lot of signs that I was a nature girl. And they said, you know, it's because there was really no one in that field that looked like any of us. You know, like we didn't want to encourage our little girl to go into this field so that she would be this anomaly. We were concerned. We wanted you to be in this safe, you know, environment, this safe career. And, you know, now as a parent, I completely get that. But, you know, it did something to me. And I said that, you know, I had the president of Spelman College. I went to a historically Black college in the States. And our president would always say, be the change that you want to see, you know, which is a Gandhi quote, you know. So as I went through and I did this law and corporate law, no less, I was like, I can't do this. I can't sit around and, like, you know, be this lawyer when I know that this isn't where my passion lies. So that led to me founding Green Youth Foundation. And the the vision behind that was really to create an environmental sector that's more reflective of the society in which we live. Because in the United States, the environmental sector is so incredibly homogeneous. You know, it's mainly, especially back then, white and male still, you know, so that I could completely see why there weren't many pathways for young people of color to go into this field. Yet I knew how critical it was for us, everybody, to really be a part of this discussion. So doing this, that kind of led me to Greening Youth Foundation, because I really wanted to make sure there were no young girl or young boy that would say, I would love to do this, but I can't because that space isn't for me. I don't belong in that space. You know, there's nothing to connect me to that space. So Greening Youth Foundation was all about that, like making sure every person of color not only was connected to the outdoors, but were exposed to the career opportunities that exist in the environmental sector. So, you know, I'm happy to say I stepped down from that role about 2 years ago, but I did it for about 17 years. And now, you know, they've gone on, they're still around, and we've done great things, placing close to 10,000 young people in internships in, you know, environmental land management sector, working with the National Park Service, you know, the Forest Service, Fish and Wildlife, environmental NGOs all over the country. But we've also expanded it to work in parts of Africa, Liberia, then we went on to Ghana, and now we're headquartered here in Nigeria, which is where I worked. But something was still calling me, you know, and I knew that I had been doing that for so long as CEO, but I knew that there needed to be a young voice now taking up the mantle and taking it to the next level. So my question was, what am I going to do next? Because there was still this longing to effectuate change on a global scale. And I had so many things as an empath. I was concerned about so many things, you know. Now it wasn't just the environment, you know, there was, you know, educational system, there was poverty, you know, the list just kind of went on and on. So as I said, I was this Ashoka fellow, and I heard of this opportunity with Ashoka Africa. They kind of tapped me on my shoulder, you know, because Ashoka Africa was now, you know, they were focusing not just on identifying these social entrepreneurs working on change, which was kind of enough in and of itself, but understood the importance of young people in their role in transforming Africa and the world, you know, because Ashoka is in 92 countries. And then, you know, empathy, cognitive-based empathy for the good of all, you know, was really what got me. And so that's kind of what, as the VP and head of empathy and childhood strategy at Ashoka Africa, the focus is really showing, you know, that empathy is such a foundational skill for young people and really for everyone. And that it's one of those 21st century now skills, like change making, that every single young person or person must have to be able to thrive in this changing world where there are now so many more problems that we have solutions to. So we have to make sure that every young person understands this empathy and that it's a part of who they are, but also these change-making skills so that they can work on these innovative solutions for the social and environmental challenges that we are plagued with today. So it really wasn't a coincidence, you know, that I was doing this work in the environmental sector and now I'm squarely in the empathy world. It's because those two things go together so much, right? So when we're talking about climate change and the global emergencies that we are facing, you know, we just had, you know, the earthquake that killed so many people in Turkey and Syria, you know, then we have the flooding and drought, you know, like all of these things come back to our planet, to the environment. So I want to kind of shift the conversation, talk about how do we move from climate apathy to climate empathy? You know, so we think of apathy because where a lot adults are, quite frankly. And a lot of people, like when you live in a very vulnerable community, I'm here in Nigeria, there's a lot of things that stand in the way to having the environment really resonate with them as something that they should be taking action. Because I see empathy as not just stepping into the shoes of another and understanding their feelings and their perspective, but it's about being inspired to act. So what are the things that really inspires individuals to act, particularly when they are in vulnerable communities? So when they're in countries like Nigeria, and I'm sure Susty Vibes can certainly speak to this, how do we make climate something that you would care so much about that you would want to take action? So, I don't know how much time I have, but want to look at some of those tools, some of those drivers that really immediately can connect individuals to take an action. And I believe it's important to personalize it, to make it so that people can understand. And I'm thinking of Nigerians here that, their livelihood is impacted. So when there's a flood, and we get lots of floods here in Nigeria, that, there's a direct connection and correlation to throwing out litter. There's so much litter here, so much trash, and there's such a drainage. There's a drainage of these the waterways, and and that it's directly connected to people not thinking of the connection between throwing out their trash and how that clogs the drainage systems, therefore leading to floods, which impacts their ability to get to work. So if you can draw out these examples, or their children, they care all over the world, everyone cares about their children. So hearing their children talk about the anxiety that they have because they're concerned about their future, there should be a direct connection there. What can I do as an adult to make sure the future is intact for the next generation? And you can't, as Barack Obama said at a conference on environmentalism, he was like, you can't talk about the environment unless you talk about economics. It's just not fair when you look at communities, countries, vulnerable, people who are experiencing climate change in so much more at such higher percentages as other countries. You can't talk about they should be just making change without including economics. So we have to bring in green jobs. So that's one of the things that we talk about, Green and Youth Foundation, is what are some of the jobs, that we can talk to young people about and provide them with skills, and so that they can, learn how to be solar technicians or wind turbine technicians, and working in these areas so that they can be contributing towards this climate resiliency, but at the same time, receiving funds so that they can help their families. So again, I know I don't have a whole lot of time, and there's so much more that I want to talk about, but for the most part, I think that we have to really figure out collectively, and I hope in these discussions that we can talk about what we can do to really inspire people to act. And there are a lot of different things, ways to cope with climate anxiety, eco-anxiety. But one of the main things that I think that everyone could kind of focus on is doing something, no matter how small. If you take action and do something right in your community, right in your household, change something that you do so that it's more sustainable, that will really make you feel better, so that if you're having anxiety, if you're stressing, if you're feeling that you're alone, this is one way I believe that you could effectuate change, but also make yourself feel better, so that climate anxiety is not paralyzing you. So I just would love to end with a quote from my Shiro, who is Dr. Wangari Maathai. I hope all of you here are familiar with who she is. She is no longer with us, but she was the first African woman to receive a Nobel Peace Prize, an East African woman, for her work in sustainable agriculture and conservation and sustainability. Love her. Check out her work, Greenbelt Movement. I think her daughter is still carrying on her work now. But the quote that I love from her, which I think is very germane for this conversation we're having, is, you cannot protect the environment unless you empower people, inform them, and help them understand that these resources are their own and they must protect them. So thank you so much, everyone. And I look forward to continuing the discussion with you in our breakout rooms. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Angelou. I mean, thank you so much for bringing such concrete solutions and tips. It's really changing that framing or narrative into, what can we really do? What can we really do, and really framing it in a realistic part. Because like you said, you cannot isolate the economic from the environment. And like you said, empathy is really empathy is what can push people to take that extra step to be like, I feel like I need to do something. And this is really where I believe, and I think many of us in this circle believe, that empathy plays a role. It's like pushing people to go from what can I do to I need to do something, or I see this struggle, I feel like, and I remember before in one of our circles, we had a short clip talking about what you said in the beginning, what is empathy? And you highlight that very well. It's not just about feeling for another person, be like, oh, I feel for you, but it's really putting yourself in their place and thinking, okay, what can I do? Like this struggle has become shared. So what can we do together as a team? And it really is unifying. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, and the concrete tips in the end as well. Very helpful. This this built up to our wonderful next storyteller as well, Hillary. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hillary Isaac. Can you guys hear me? Hello, everyone. My name is Hillary Isaac, and I'm here to share my story. So let's get into it. I'll be reading from my note.
Maybe it would be helpful, Hillary, if you turn off your camera for this, because we seem to be losing.
I'll turn mine off too, because I can't.
Yeah. Let us do this. Hillary, are you still here? Oh, it seems like her connection has really dropped.
It froze on my Zoom.
Oh.
Everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Let's just give it a couple of minutes for Hillary to reconnect. It seems, yes, it's dropping out. Thank you so much again, Angelou, for your story and for your inspiration of this circle to direct action. It's really nice to hear something that is affirming and engaged, and not as catastrophizing as what we usually hear in the media about climate, hence the increasing climate anxiety that's perpetuated, I think, among especially the youth. So it's nice to have thought leaders and action leaders just like you to inspire the youth, to inspire us to not lose hope and to engage with our communities in order to actually make change where we can. It's very, very wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that we're all overexposed. We have to really limit how much media we let in, because you can get so much. It's important to stay informed, but I think if we're overexposed, it almost gets you to this point of like, well, I have no idea what to do, like to a point of paralysis, like I said. So, I think it's important to kind of limit your media consumption and maybe focus just on a couple of areas that you are really passionate about, and join groups. That's why I think Network of Empathy is amazing, because you need to be around caring people that want to do things, and empathy is that force for transformation. It's that element that you really need to make change. So if you can find a group of people that you feel have that element, then connect with them, talk to them about these issues that are affecting you, and it acts as therapy, So these are ways that I kind of talk to young adults when it comes to, and there's all sorts of, like the Planet app. I don't know if you all have heard of that, but it's literally an app that you can put on your phone that helps you determine your carbon footprint, and you can come up with a weekly and monthly plan for your activities, and it gives you points. So things like when you're doing active things, like I think it's called gamification. I have a 21-year-old and a 24-year-old. So don't think I'm super cool. I just know all this stuff from my sons. So they keep me like in the know. I'm serious, but they tell me like gamification is this new way in which you learn things, like through whether it's a task or a language or whatever it is. People are now coming up with fun ways for you to do things and to learn. So that's how this Planet app came about. And it's literally helping people and I think Greta Thunberg was involved with this as well. And, you're basically monitoring your carbon footprint on a weekly basis, so do you need to take this personal flight? I'm sorry, I'm just really talking to help Hillary get online. Is she back?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
Okay, great. I'll be quiet now.
It's great to have you back, Hillary. Thank you. The floor is yours. I'm going to turn off my camera so that it helps the internet.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm really sorry. I will just try and, sorry, I can't use video at the moment. So let me start from the beginning. So the story I'm about to share with everyone here today is the story of a small part of my life in two poems. One of the poems is called Green. The other poem is called Goals. It is a story of youth, sustainability, and cyclical self-renewal. So the first poem is called Green. The lungs of the earth are my lungs. In times of grief, green reminds me to breathe. So when I wrote this poem, I was just coming off the most difficult part of my life so far. The 5 years I spent studying biomedical engineering in university. Different factors contributed to that difficulty, but essentially was the realization that I was living in a world that purports to be one way and is the other. A world that purports to value human life, but does not. A world that is built on, or that is made up of structures that do not care about me or those who look like me or the planets that made us possible. At the time, it was too much for me. Many days, even now, it still is. I feel sick. So here I want to use Freud's conception of illness as neurophysiological resistance to the social, economic, and libidinal structures that organize one's life and existence in a way that causes suffering, unease, and despair. My defenses were up. I was blocked. Even though I found solace in nature, it was a struggle to breathe when the lungs of the earth were being cut down. Sometimes I felt speak to people without crying. That's how angry and shocked and desperate I felt by the entrenchment of systems of oppression and my powerlessness within them. But luckily, I graduated. A few months after my graduation, at the beginning of my graduate internship, I was sitting in the NYSC Community Center. For those who are not Nigerian in the chat, NYSC is sort of a compulsory graduate internship program. I was sitting in the NYSC Community Center when another poem burst out of me. It is only 3 lines. The poem is called Circles. Someone has swept up the dust and gathered the leaves, left spiral patterns beneath the trees. The scene I witnessed at the community center was so simple, but it gave birth to 3 lines of one of my most important poems. These 3 lines give a clue to my desires at the time, what I was trying to accomplish. After my time at university, I was trying to find space, sweep out all the noise and clutter. That's why the first 2 lines of this poem are about the process of cleaning up. Someone has swept up the dust and gathered the leaves. The 3rd line is probably my favorite. It represents a kind of transcendence. The leaving of spiral patterns beneath the trees is an ordinary act, because the traditional brooms we use here in Nigeria leave markings in the sand when you use them. B, it points at a deeper artistry of care, that you leave behind these beautiful traces of a job well done when you care for yourself or your community. C, I imagine the act of sweeping, the act of cleaning up and leaving these marks as done by a subject who is joyful to be doing these acts, joyful that they have a community to live in reciprocity with, who is self-aware as an artist and actively drawing in the sand because they thoroughly enjoy the care work that they're doing in their community. They are inspired and they share that inspiration, or they express that inspiration in whatever they do. They turn the ordinary act of caring for their community into art. I want to care for myself with all the extra swirls that transforms the ordinary acts of self-reproduction into a ceremony of significance. Mine is a body that breathes and bathes and stretches. And because I care for my body, I recognize my body as deserving of recognition as human. What I mean is, opening my capacity for experiencing and enjoying self-care strengthened my empathy, strengthened my intuition that all bodies have the capacity for their own enjoyment, and that it is crucial to enact a world that prioritizes well-being and gives people the opportunity to exercise their talents, to stretch minds and bodies in creating things that bring them closer to one another. The poem itself is called Circles because I wanted to highlight the cyclical or repetitive nature of self-care. You have to do it again and again and again. You have to brush, bathe, declutter, wipe. My horoscope occasionally gives me this quote that goes something like, we brush our teeth not because we want to, but because we want to hold on to our teeth. I think this underscores how self-care acts that we do again and again are about preserving our minds and bodies so that we can engage with others. it's very much this idea that my body is just not my body, or my body is not just my body. It is a body in community with others. We see this with vaccination and herd immunity, where the health of individuals has such obvious effect on the health of the population. I think simple acts of self-care like digital decluttering, for example, force us to push the reset button on ourselves and the world and determine which ideas we find truly useful. What ideas are what things are worth spending our time thinking about, what we really enjoy, not just letting the news cycle dictate that to us. This stuff may be hard to remind ourselves to do again and again, but we have to do that work so that we don't get sidetracked from what truly matters. Now that we have discussed the sublime significance of self-care, I want to now discuss the way self-care acts can be transformed into self-care rituals. I feel that acts that we repeat can transform into ritual by making special. And what I mean by that is imbuing acts repeated in time with essence, with excess, with ceremonial significance, with ostentatious gestures, with performance, no matter how small. Think of a person taking a bath with scented candles. It serves as a reminder when you smell that scent on you. It serves as a reminder of your commitment to showing up for yourself in a way that allows you to show up for others. For this transformation from self-care acts into self-care rituals, I am inspired by the practices of our ancestors. I believe that some of the rituals and festivals can be seen as weighting down the ordinary with special gestures that introduce significance or that express significance. For example, the festivals or rituals that celebrate a bountiful harvest are ones that celebrate how nature cares for us and sustains us. So I'm referring to things like the Yam Festival, for example, which is very popular in regions of the state I live in Nigeria, Cross River State. So celebrate
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I think Hilary's network went off again.
Yeah, I think, oh, but she's still with us.
Yeah, let's just give her a minute. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to reiterate what Jennifer said on the chat. That was such a moving story, by the way. I completely agree. I think Hillary really captivated us, really bringing us from the beginning of her journey to the end, and like the incorporation of the poetry is beautiful. I hope you can hear me, Hillary, but you're a beautiful writer. let's give her hopefully a minute. I also don't. I also hope at the same time we're not putting pressure on you, Hillary. Like, there's no, like, we are here with you as well. Perhaps Hillary, we can, oh, is Hillary with us? Because maybe what we can do in the meantime, until Hillary reconnects, is perhaps go to the breakout rooms. Like, we'll give Hillary a minute, and then if she doesn't make it back, we can go back to the breakout rooms and reconvene when she joins again, like, and making sure she shares the end of her story that we're all waiting, we're all anxiously waiting for. So we can give her a minute, and if not, then we can go into breakout rooms and really dive deep into discussion. Okay, how about let's go into breakout rooms then now? Let's do that. Okay. Let me do that. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rima. You want to say something?
Sorry for interrupting you. Nada, it would be nice if you could divide people into breakout rooms, and meanwhile, I will share the questions that were prepared for the breakout room discussion in the chat. These are the questions that we would like to reflect upon together while we are in smaller groups, so we can actually interact with each other and try to find commonalities and try to reflect upon the stories that have been shared today with us. Thank you so much again, Angelou, and thank you, Hillary, even though she hasn't been able to reconnect yet. I am very grateful that we get to share the space with everybody else. Thank you so much again for joining us, and I am looking
Is this a breakout room or this is still all of us, right?
No. I'm sorry. I accidentally misdivided the breakout rooms. I'm very sorry.
Oh, we can't hear you if you were talking.
Oh, sorry. No worries, not at all. While we are waiting, maybe let's see if Hillary has been able to rejoin to conclude on her story, but it doesn't seem so. It's unfortunate, but I hope that Welcome back, everybody. Are we all back yet? Or some of us are still in the breakouts?
Oh, yeah, whole year.
We're here.
Amazing. I hope everybody has had a wonderful, reflective, interactive session in their breakout rooms. Does anybody want to maybe share what they have discussed in the breakout room? When it comes to one of the 3 questions, I will post them back into the chat down here. Also, Hillary, it's nice to have you back. Actually, let's circle back and see whether Hillary still has the connection and whether she will be able to finish her story. Hillary, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm here. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Would you like to finish the story that you were telling us?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to finish.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know where I was when I got cut off by the network, but I will just try to, I guess, go back to my last outline, which was transforming like ordinary self-care acts into ritual. And I was saying that I was, or I am inspired by the practices of our ancestors. I believe that some of the rituals and festivals can be seen as weighting down the ordinary with special gestures to introduce significance. For example, the festivals and rituals that celebrate a bountiful harvest are ones that celebrate how much nature cares for us and sustain us, and how the boundaries between our bodies and the environment that nourishes us are basically non-existent. So inspired were our ancestors by the appearance of abundance that they celebrated. It's really such a gift to look around and feel cared for by the world. The only response is to channel the sum of individual joys into collective celebration. I think that even in my own life, my self-care for me at the time I was getting over my depression after I graduated was definitely a celebration of survival. When you are in that position, it's hard to even manage the most basic acts of self-care. So I was, and I am really thankful to my community for supporting me through that time, for giving me the time, space, and letting me grow and recover the energy for me to feel like I can do, for me to perform self-care acts. It really felt like a blessing when I was finally able to do those things that sustained me and give back to my community. So my final thoughts are that 1, self-care rituals must not be literally ostentatious. I know I mentioned it in transforming self-care acts into self-care rituals. One can employ ostentatious gestures and excess and all of that. But I know a lot of us may not have the time or resources, so I believe that ostentatious performance is enough. I am reminded of a line from Sylvia Plath. I took a deep breath and listened to the old bray of my heart. I am, I am, I am. I think that the performance that we engaged in earlier today of meditating and affirming ourselves and bringing ourselves in collectively into the space together is an example of the sort of ostentatious performance that transforms ordinary self-care acts into rituals. So the ordinary self-care act of being quiet with yourself and kind of welcoming everyone on board at the same time is transformed into this beautiful ritual by affirming ourselves like we did earlier today. Thank you. Sorry, I'm forgetting names. Thank you, Rima. Yes, thank you, Rima, for that. Number two, our acts of self-care must be sustainable because we care for ourselves, not just because we are, but because we are bodies in community, which includes our environment. And number three, we should not judge ourselves too harshly when we cannot care for ourselves for whatever reason, whether we be sad, sick, tired, or disabled. Allowing the rest and recovery of our bodies is also self-care. Allowing others to care for us is perhaps the most radical self-care act. And lastly, these ideas are by no means new. We have put them in practice earlier, and I think the network of empathy and TEAP basically embody the idea of radical self-care as a way to sustain ourselves. So it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge my forebears. Lucille Clifton, who said, "Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life?" I had no model, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and failed. And Audre Lorde, who said, "In a world such as this, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare." So I encourage each and every one of us to practice self-care rituals, to make special our ordinary acts of self-care, even in their repetition, even in their routine, even in their ordinariness. There is a space to transform these acts into art, into ritual, by reminding ourselves through performance that we are together. And if we can, by celebrating ourselves and making things very special. So thank you all for listening, and that's the end of my story.
Wow. Thank you so much, Hillary, for a wonderful story, as well as incorporating those wonderful, oh, you weren't here when we were all complimenting your poetry. You missed that, I think. But for incorporating beautiful poetry and quotes, and the way that you discuss and elaborate on self-care and all the intricacies of it is truly, like, I was just thinking, like, oh, I need to take notes of everything that you're saying. Like, I want, like, it's so accurate and so well said. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for everybody for sharing this space. So we have a couple minutes left. I would like to open the floor for final reflections. Anything you want to share about the stories that were shared, the breakout rooms and the discussion questions, just reflections, thoughts, feelings. The floor is open. Yes, please go ahead, Jennifer. Your hand is raised.
Thanks, Nada, and good to see you. Hi again, everyone. I mean, just wanting to say, as someone who's been looking forward to this event, I'm really glad it's happened in the way that it's happened, that even with all of the technical difficulties, we still see how just extremely empowering Hillary's words are. And, it's just really amazing what we've come out of here with. And I wanted to say thank you so much to Angelou for showing us what it means to be authentic, showing us the strengths in empathy. I really, really am excited that you were able to join us and just to show us what is possible. And thanks to everyone, Network of Empathy, TEAP team, and everyone that has just sort of signed up, to this, to spend a few minutes with us, listen to what we have to offer. We just hope this has really been, enriching and valuable for you. Thank you. All right, Nada.
Thank you for the beautiful words as always, Jennifer, and great to see you again. The floor is still open for anybody who would like to share. Please raise your hand or go ahead and speak. Yes, please go ahead, Ida. Great to see you again.
Great to see you. Hi, everyone. So I think it's the general takeout as well that one of the only ways to deal with the anxiety and be inspired to act, as Angelou said, is having conversations as a community, because I think individually it doesn't really make sense. And also we as humanity, we are going through this, and like we can deal with this by having conversations, by acting and getting inspired from each other, and also by in a lot of ways honoring and maybe bringing back the traditions of our ancestors. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ida. Thank you. The floor is still open for whoever would like to share. Again, this is a safe space. So if it's also random thoughts, I have done that multiple times. There's no judgment. I'll give it a few minutes. If not, then... Oh, yes, Andrew, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi. Also, thanks for organizing this, guys. It's been nice. I think the last NOE event I was in was like a year and a half ago, so it's been a while. But I had some really nice conversations as well in the breakout room about I guess how to connect with other people and how to inspire other people. I think I was just thinking all of a sudden of this one quote by what's his name again? David Attenborough, I think who we all know as the nature guy from the documentaries. But he once said in one of his documentaries that we are kind of we have moved as civilization from being a part of nature to being apart from nature. So we kind of need to relearn how to become a part of nature again, instead of seeing ourselves as this like transcended species of beings that has kind of like advanced to such an extent that we don't need nature anymore, and we are the masters of nature. The reason that we are here and that we are as advanced as we are is because we've used all these resources, and we've used all this energy that we have on this planet to kind of like advance ourselves. And for that, basically, we used nature to kind of like help us be where we are right now. And I think we are kind of like collectively forgetting that. And I think we need to kind of like learn how to be in touch with the earth again. Which sounds very vague, but I think it's the only way that we can actually solve this, by everyone realizing that that the earth will kind of like, it will keep existing for as long as time exists, basically, or at least until the universe kind of like stops existing. It's more about like that we need to make sure that we keep existing, right? And that the human species kind of like stays alive, because the earth will kind of like still be here. It's more about, will humans still be here in like 200 to 300 years? And that's kind of like the perspective change I think we need to make, that it's not about saving the earth, it's about, saving the human species.
That is so, so true and well said. And it goes back to everything that we've been discussing today, the power of storytelling, the power of framing, and how that can really reconnect us to each other and motivate us to help each other, to save each other, because you know at the end it is about us. So very well said. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts, words before we close off?
I would like to just share deep gratitude for everybody just joining in today and sharing their thoughts, whether it's in the plenary or in the reflection in the breakout rooms. Thank you so much for all of that engagement and presence, first and foremost. And as a small request, we would like to ask all of you to, if you have the time, to take the time to fill out our short feedback form so that we can make these sessions flow better, so that we can improve our methodology and create even safer spaces. So there's that. And I would like to again extend a very, very, very big gratitude and thank you to Angelou and Hillary for sharing their stories and inspiring us in some ways or others to whether it's towards action in communities or towards action of self-care. It's something that we need to remember and be reminded of, and thank you so much for that. Thank you, a big thanks to Nada and TEAP for making the session happen. And yeah, I'm just very grateful to be sharing this space with everybody.
Thank you everybody for joining, not just joining, for participating and opening yourself up and engaging in this conversation. And again, thank you so much for TEAP for co-organizing it and all the support and work they did in co-organizing this and connecting us with our wonderful storytellers, Hillary and Angelou. Both of you guys, thank you so much for joining and for sharing your stories with us. And yeah, thank you everybody. We hope to see you at our next circle next month in March. The link is in the chat, as well as the feedback. We would love to hear from you. But,
Awesome. Thank you
thank
for having us. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining in.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Bye.
Bye, thank you so
Okay,
much.
bye-bye.